Hi, my name is Sasha. Welcome to the Mothership. I'm going to do a tarot reading about Twin Flame Mission, and will take me just a moment to ready the cards. So I'd like you to take a moment and synchronize with me as I prepare the cards. And if you have specific questions, go ahead and ask those to yourself now. I'm going to go ahead and start, and if we need more cards, we'll get those. So the first message I'm getting is to begin working on your mindset about abundance and sexuality, as these go together hand in hand. Also, for many of us, this begins with repairing not only our inner divine masculine, but also our inner child work with our fathers or father figures. And my personal belief is that we should seek balanced advice, and the place that I go when I need such balanced advice is to the Divine Mother and Father. This is also tied in with your higher and innate wisdom and guidance, your intuition. Following it and trusting it, you will be led to the doors that open for you to find the information that you need, whether that's through your ancestral DNA or heritage, whether it's from a past life or other timeline, even the collective unconsciousness of all people and what's happened not only in our starry roots but on our earth plane in the past. So there's many different places that we might need to look for the information, and once you find it and bring that into the light, integrating and healing it for yourself, you will have a greater trust in what you're able to create for yourself, and also a greater trust in the universe around you. So there's also a much needed break from self-criticism, and I'm hearing just to put the burdens down. I'm seeing the Ten of Wands. Like it's time to just realize that you don't have to carry everything. I'm also being told the Tower card is very important, because sometimes we get in our own way because we want things to be a certain way, or we want to take it easy on ourselves. Not necessarily easy, but more lazy. And sometimes it's better to just let things fall rather than holding things all together. So whatever has been burdening you, it's time to look at why and to put it down. I'm hearing that when you're able to do this, you're able to enter your childlike awe and inspiration. And when you do this, things become more playful, and it's easier to follow your soul's wisdom, guidance, and soul song, and also to get creative with your journey. And it's much easier to follow your intuition. And the other message that goes along with that is, when you are following the bliss of your soul and you're in that creative, more playful energy with yourself, you're able to do things more quickly and effortlessly, spontaneously, and it's ultimately easier to find the answers that you seek. There's a dual message coming through also, that some of us who have intense trauma, we tend to put overlays of protection around ourselves, which is good to protect yourself. And this message is more about kind of trying to protect ourselves so much that we build a wall or a barricade, or we actually attract the opposite of what we desire in so doing that. So, like, I'm trying to think of an example off top, but the only thing that's coming to mind is really like, say you experience a heartache, and in order to protect your heart from being hurt, instead of allowing love to come in, we push love away. So in trauma, it can get tricky because so much is in our subconscious, and that's why we are triggered, and that's part of being traumatized. What happens with trauma is a part of ourself actually leaves our, let's just say, leaves our body, like part of our spirit leaves our body. It's a misalignment in your soul, and that's a protection mechanism. And what happens with trauma is, instead of, especially with like PTSD and things like that, is our system doesn't regulate back to where it is supposed to be because of the trauma, and the shock was so severe that we get stuck in, especially in the root chakra, and like being outside of ourselves. We need to find those missing pieces of ourselves and allow that piece of ourselves back in our body. And a lot of times, especially for empaths and star seeds and the like, it is also like finding the frequency of that trauma, and if there were other people's energies involved, clearing those energies off of you as well, like cleaning up the imprint, and the stuck energy, the stagnated energy can sometimes allow you to shift back in your body really fast. But it's all in your own timing. And when you're ready to face your trauma, you most likely will, but you first have to realize that you're traumatized. And some of the ways you can realize if you have a trauma in a certain area is by just looking at the symptoms of your life and your lifestyle. I'm being called to talk a little bit about a part of my journey. This was several years ago. I knew that I was experiencing intense, like, codependent behavior, but I didn't understand in depth what I understand now. But I did have a little notebook, and what I did at that point in time is, when I would have anxiety, I changed my go-to list. So my go-to list was an assortment of behaviors that were kind of like off the charts and destructive and very negative, and I could recognize some of those, so I gently started working on them. And when I would feel my trigger of anxiety coming up, I just made a different list that was my go-to list, and I kept that notebook with me at all times because my anxiety was kind of severe, and whenever I would feel really triggered by abandonment or codependent issues, I would pull out the notebook and I would go down the list. And some of the things were very like simple things I could do, but they all essentially served to get me back in my body. And they were not dangerous, and they were not toxic behaviors. So that's a suggestion I would put out there for y'all, is to change your go-to list. And it doesn't have to be a list per se, but just begin changing like those behaviors that have kept you in those stuck places. And that can help you kind of begin to see where the roots of your trauma are. So I know that was a little lengthy, Let's move on to the reading to see if there were any more messages that want to come out. I'm actually just going to pull one more animal card. So this is a message of trust. It's time to trust, and if you don't yet have that trust, again, you just start working on it. Slowly and surely, you'll be able to turn that trust into something that's to be relied on. At first, when we start exercising trust, especially in our higher intuition and whatever your belief system about the creator is, it can be very challenging. It can be like uh, knowing that you don't know how to swim but being asked to go into the ocean anyway. And that's part of what trusting is. So as you do this work and begin to move into your mission, just know that the universe is behind you. What's very cool about moving into mission is, even though you might not even know what it is at this point, or you might be in a different stage where you're working on it every day, there's always something new around the corner, because energy is always flowing. So, and we are also in constant change. So when you begin to trust the creator and your own intuition and your own soul in the process, like I said before, things begin to open up creatively and it's easier to flow. So start working on your trust. Make some goals around trust and ultimately have trust in yourself in the process, and know that when you work with the universe and step onto your soul's path, your path of mission, the full support of the universe is behind you, which is the cool part. You're not going against yourself anymore, so you're more likely to have great results, especially when you first step onto the path, because you'll get that push from the universe.